Welcome back to GM Vision. Today we're going to be looking at my Week 5 picks and predictions. We're also going to make some bets for this week's slate of games and make a big parlay at the end. This past week for Week 4, I wasn't able to post a video. I'm in law school and had some exams I had to take care of, but we still made the picks and we went 13-2. Should have been 14-2 if Green Bay didn't tie Dallas. That brings us to an overall record after 4 weeks of 36-11. With that being said, please like the video and subscribe. Now let's take a look at the first slate of games. Okay, so looking at the first slate of games, you have the 49ers taking the short trip to Los Angeles to play the Rams on Thursday Night Football. The 49ers are a banged up team, missing their star tight end, George Kittle, and also their best receiver right now, Ricky Pearsall, potentially being out. This being a short week definitely does not help the Niners, especially coming off a really tough loss where they turned the ball over 4 times to the Jaguars. They were really dominated all the way throughout that game, and that was with Pearsall being back and Purdy back for his first game from injury. Then when looking at LA, they had a very competitive game against the Colts this past weekend. Some say the Colts probably should have won that game. There were some pretty crazy plays, like A.D. Mitchell fumbling the ball running into the end zone, which costed the Colts a touchdown. But when it came down to it, the Rams made the plays to win the game, and Matthew Stafford had a huge touchdown at the end of the game to get it done. So when looking at this matchup, the 49ers are missing Nick Bosa, who's probably one of the best players in the NFL in general. They do have McCaffrey. He's their workhorse. The offense entirely runs through him. These teams are very familiar with each other, so this should be no surprise to the Rams. The Rams have a really good defensive line to match up with a San Francisco offensive line that is pretty good itself. But without those weapons in the passing game, and the 49ers struggling as of recent, I'm going to say that the Rams have the edge on that side of the ball. And then when looking at the Rams offense going up against the San Francisco defense, you're looking at a very young San Francisco secondary. They're asking a lot of younger guys to step up and make an impact on the game. That's never a good mix when you have a starting quarterback who's one of the most experienced guys in the NFL to go along with another very experienced receiver in Devontae Adams. And I didn't even mention the receiver that's probably playing the best in the whole NFL right now, Puka Nacua. This offense has been playing pretty well throughout the first 4 weeks of the season, and I think they'll keep it rolling at home on a short week, and the Rams take it. Then transitioning over to the Dolphins, going to the Panthers. We all just saw Miami beat the Jets on Monday Night Football. They looked a lot better than previous weeks. They also did play one of the worst teams in football, and they did lose their best player on offense in Tyreek Hill. So the Dolphins are going to rely a lot on the run game, and you're going to see a heavy workload from Devon Achane for probably the rest of the season. The Dolphins still do have some playmakers on the offensive side of the ball with Jalen Waddle and the newcomer Darren Waller, who had 2 touchdowns in his return to football. Tua really hasn't had that red zone target in his career, and if Waller keeps playing like that, it can make a huge difference with this Dolphins offense. This Panthers defense does have some playmakers with J.C. Horn. They got some guys on the defensive line, but they're really not a good team overall. They put on a great performance in Week 3, shutting out the Falcons, but then only to immediately follow it up with another bad game against the Patriots, who haven't been very good in their own right. So I think Miami's offense will have more success and will be able to build off of their win against the Jets. I think this is a game where you'll continue to see Achane get it done on the ground, and it'll be interesting to see how Miami's offense adjusts to not having Tyreek Hill. And then looking at the Panthers offense, it's really centered around Chuba Hubbard and their first-round receiver, T-Mac. While T-Mac looks to be a really good receiver, that's about the only weapon they have right now, and they're really not able to get anything going as an offense, so it's going to be really hard to beat any team. So I'm going to give the Dolphins the win on the road in Carolina. The Minnesota Vikings, coming off a tough loss in Ireland, now having to play in London against the Cleveland Browns. And you have the Browns, who came off a tough loss against Detroit. The Browns offense has really not been able to get it going, and you're not going to be able to hang with a team like Detroit when you're turning the ball over as Joe Flacco's done. So when looking at this matchup, it's 2 good defenses going up against 2 struggling offenses. So the question is, which offense can be more consistent and not turn the ball over? I liked what I saw from Carson Wentz. He was able to force feed the ball to Justin Jefferson and was able to get the ball to his playmakers. But like I said, the turnovers are costly. He threw 2 picks last week against the Steelers and fumbled, and that's just not something that you can do against this Cleveland Browns defense. They're arguably the best defense in the NFL right now, almost single-handedly winning games. But this Minnesota defense is pretty good in its own right, and I think they'll be able to limit Joe Flacco in this Browns offense. But the Browns do have a bright spot in their rookie running back, Quinshon Judkins. I think you could see him having a really good game in this one. So this is going to be the first time we start making bets in these videos. And for the first slate of games, we're going to go with Cleveland plus 3.5 in London, getting the job done against that Vikings offense. When it comes down to it, I think Cleveland's defense will force a few turnovers, make it tough on the Vikings offense to get anything going. And I think the Browns' run game will eventually get them the win. Okay, so now looking at the Baltimore Ravens without Lamar Jackson traveling to Houston to play CJ Stroud and the Texans. I'm really not liking what I'm seeing from both these teams. The Ravens have been playing some good football, but just can't seem to find a way to win these close games. And then just to get blown out by Kansas City last week is really not a good look. And you look over on the other side with the Texans, they have been one of the worst offenses, if not the worst, in the NFL through the first 3 weeks. Now, they did play a terrible team in the Tennessee Titans and were able to have a bounce back game. And while Baltimore's defense is better than the Titans' defense, they have not been playing up to their standard as of late. Without Lamar, I think this offense going up against probably one of the best defenses in the Houston Texans are going to make it really difficult on Cooper Rush and that Ravens offense. I think the Ravens are going to focus on running the ball with Derrick Henry. The Texans will definitely know that, and they're going to make Cooper Rush throw the football. And I think it's a similar story to the game we just talked about. I think this is going to be a defensive game, and it's going to end up being who turns the ball over more. While the Texans' offense isn't good either, I think they'll have slightly more success against this Ravens defense that's been struggling. I think this Texans defense is too good to let Cooper Rush beat them. And this is also a game where the injury report later in the week will tell a big story on if I flip this pick or not. But for right now, we're sticking with the Texans getting a win at home. Okay, now looking at the second slate of games, we have the Denver Broncos traveling to Philly to play the Eagles. Both teams are coming off quality wins. The Broncos had a dominating win against the Bengals, and the Eagles squeaked one out against the Bucs last week. If I remember correct, I think they said the Eagles didn't even complete a pass in the second half and still won that game. The scary thing is that the Eagles can win in many different ways. They showed that in week 3 when they showed everybody that they can air it out. So when going up against this Denver Broncos defense, I think they'll do what they have been doing and run the football as much as they can. Although I do see them trying to get the ball to A.J. Brown a little bit more, but he will likely have Pat Surtain II following him around for most of the game, so that probably won't make A.J. Brown fantasy owners very happy. But I think the Broncos defense will make this competitive. And then looking over the Broncos offense, they have some different ways to get it done as well. They're coached very well by Sean Payton. They have some younger guys that will get the job done, and rookie running back R.J. Harvey. They have a very good receiver in Courtland Sutton. While they're not a very explosive offense, they can get it going when they need to. And I think this will end up being a grinded out game where it comes down to the last few minutes of the fourth quarter. And I think it's going to be which team can make that extra play at the end to get it done. I'm going to side with the Eagles, even though I think this could be a spot for them to get their first loss of the season. It'll be close, but I trust the Eagles more to get the job done. Then looking at our second bet of the picks, we have the Cowboys minus 2.5 in New York against the Jets. This feels like a little bit of a trap line. You'd think that the Cowboys would be favored by a little bit more than 2.5. I think the sportsbooks are worried about that Cowboys defense going up against Justin Fields. Justin Fields is coming off a huge game on the ground against the Dolphins, and I think he continues that going up against the Cowboys. While the Cowboys are coming off a tie and their offense really got it going against the Packers, that defense hasn't looked good all year. So I think there's some room in this game for the Jets offense to have success and keep this game close. But then flipping it and looking at the Jets defense against this Cowboys offense, even missing CeeDee Lamb, the Cowboys showed that they can still get the job done with players like George Pickens, Kevontae Turpin, and Javonte Williams is having a nice start to the season. While I think this is a trap line for the Cowboys, I'm still going to take it. I think their offense is just too good going up against a bad team in general in the Jets, and we're going to take the Cowboys in this one. Then looking at the Raiders traveling to Indianapolis to play the Colts, The Raiders and Ashton Genty just came off a game where they lost in heartbreaking fashion, getting their game-winning field goal blocked, but they finally got that breakout performance from their 6th overall pick in Ashton Genty. So that's something Raiders fans can look forward to for the rest of the season. And I think he can keep that going against this Colts defense. While the Colts are coming off a heartbreaking loss to the Rams, where I'm sure all Colts fans feel like they should have won that game, the Raiders are going to look to run the ball with Ashton Genty and keep this momentum going with him. And I think they'll have some success against this Colts defense. But when it comes down to it, this Colts team is playing too well right now. Their defense is flying around. Their offense is making plays. Daniel Jones has had a great start to the season. He did throw 2 picks last week, which proved costly in their loss to the Rams. So I think as long as Daniel Jones takes care of the football, they'll be able to establish the run with Jonathan Taylor. He's also had a great start to the season. And I think the Colts' weapons are a little bit too much for that Raiders defense. I can see the Colts getting up in this one, and then that defense just going to work and making the Raiders throw the football. I think you see Geno Smith turn the ball over a few times, and the Colts get out of here with the win. And then looking at the Bucs traveling to Seattle to play the Seahawks, a very tough place to play, and the Bucs are coming off a heartbreaking loss where they had a chance to beat the defending Super Bowl champions last week in the Eagles. Baker's playing great football right now. That offense has taken a good step even without Mike Evans. They got Chris Godwin back, and their rookie first-round pick, Emeka Egbuka, has had a great start to the season. That defense also has some good players on it, with Benjamin Morrison, another rookie who's stepping up at the cornerback position, someone that I was really high on coming into the draft, even with his injury. And then looking over at the Seahawks, they were able to hang on against the Cardinals last week, kicking a game-winning field goal. They've had a long week of rest and had some extra time to prepare for this one. So looking at the Seahawks offense going up against this Tampa Bay defense, they're definitely going to try to establish the run the same way the Eagles did this past week. Kenneth Walker is coming off a nice game on the ground, but the vocal point in this Seahawks offense is to get JSN going. He is really coming in to form as a wide receiver 1 in this league. And I think the key in this one is to keep the ball out of the Tampa Bay Bucs' hands and not let them put a bunch of points up on offense. And then looking at the Bucs offense going up against this Seattle defense, Seattle's had some pretty solid weeks on defense. They've got some playmakers on that side of the ball. They're also playing at home, which is one of the best environments in the NFL. But the Bucs offense has some real playmakers, and this will be the best test they've faced yet. But I think the Bucs offense keeps this momentum going. This game ends up coming down to the final minutes, and Baker Mayfield and the Bucs have another game-winning drive on the road to get the win. Now taking a look at the third slate of games, you have the Titans traveling to Arizona to play the Cardinals. The Cardinals are coming off a tough loss against the Seahawks, where they lost on a game-winning field goal after making a late push to come back. Then you have the Titans, who are just playing bad on all sides of the ball. Played one of the worst offenses in the league this past week in the Texans and got beat pretty bad. I think you just have to bet against the Titans every week until they can show you they can put together a full game. I do believe in their rookie quarterback, Cam Ward. I think he'll end up being the franchise quarterback for this team. He's truly talented. He's able to make all the throws you want, all the off-platform throws. He's got a strong arm, and he's got that confidence to him, where I think he'll eventually turn this Titans team around. But for now, he's a rookie. He really doesn't have the pieces around him. The coaches aren't really doing their job, and they're really not being able to get anything going as an offense. And I don't think it'll be any different against this Arizona Cardinals defense. The Cardinals defense has some playmakers on it, and it's good enough where I think they'll end up stalling out the Titans once again. And then looking at the Arizona offense versus the Titans defense, I think this is where you can see Kyler Murray have a really good game on the ground, and Marvin Harrison Jr. continue to take the momentum from his last game, where he had a really strong finish and ended up scoring a touchdown. I think he keeps it going, and the Cardinals beat the Titans at home. Then you have a really intriguing matchup with the Commanders traveling to Los Angeles to play the Chargers. This will be Jaden Daniels' return after being out for the past few weeks, going up against a Chargers team who are without their top tackles. And you saw that have an effect in the Chargers' last game against the Giants. So this is going to be our bet for the third slate of games. We're going to have the Commanders +3, and then I'm also going to have them winning. And when looking at this matchup, the Commanders' offense with Jaden Daniels in it is truly dynamic. They have playmakers all over the field. They're starting to get that running game going. with Chris Rodriguez and then also their rookie, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. And you saw that this Chargers defense was struggling to stop the run last week. They were also really struggling to stop quarterbacks who can move. Jackson Dart made his first start. Everyone thought he was going to have a really tough time with this Chargers defense. And while he didn't have a great game through the air, he really got it done on the ground. And I think the Commanders can take advantage of it as well. The Commanders are obviously going to want to keep Jaden Daniels healthy, so you might not see him run as much as he usually would. But if they want to win this game, that's going to be a key to success. And then looking at the Chargers offense going up against this Commanders defense, Commanders have struggled a little bit on defense, trying to put it all together. Losing this past week against the Falcons, who got shut out by maybe the worst team in the NFL other than the Titans, the Panthers. So that was a little bit concerning. But I think they'll do enough against this hurt Chargers offensive line. If they can put pressure on Herbert and take away some of these big plays the Chargers have been making on offense, they have a real chance to win this game. The Chargers are very talented with their rookie running back, Omarion Hampton, really having a breakout game last week, to go along with Quentin Johnson, who's really trying to revitalize his career, a vet who's continuing to make plays, in Keenan Allen, and then not to forget about Ladd McConkey, who's their great second-year receiver. They've really got weapons all over the field, but the key will be protecting Justin Herbert. And if Joe Alt is not able to go, which it doesn't look like he will be, that's a huge problem, which I think the Commanders will be able to exploit and end up winning this game. Now looking down at the Detroit Lions traveling to Cincinnati to play the Bengals. The Lions are coming off a good game where they played probably one of the better defenses in the Browns this past week. Then you have the Bengals, who do not look inspired to play football. They have problems on offense. Jake Browning's not getting it done. He's not able to get the ball to their playmakers, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. They're really struggling on offense, and I don't think that changes here against this Lions defense. And I also think the Lions offense will take advantage of that. The Bengals won't be able to hold on to the ball for long. That means a lot more opportunities for this Lions offense, and they can score with anybody in this league. I think it's going to be another ugly one for the Bengals. I think the Lions end up scoring at will, and they're just going to force the Bengals to have to throw the ball over and over again, which is going to result in what they've looked like for the past 2 weeks. The Lions win big. Then finally you have the Patriots traveling to Buffalo to play the Bills. The Patriots coming off a really good win this past week against the Panthers. The offense looked like it finally started clicking. Then you have the Bills, who are probably the best team in football right now. They had a little bit of up and down against the Saints, but I mean, they were really in control of that game all the way. I think this is going to be a good AFC East divisional matchup. When looking at this Bills offense, I think they will continue to have success against the Patriots. The Patriots defense hasn't really been playing the best throughout the year. I think the Bills take advantage of it. Obviously, these two teams know each other very well. I think Josh Allen continues to have success. But then on the other side of the ball, Drake May is really getting it going this year, having a great game against the Panthers this past week. That's the real question in this game. Will this Patriots offense be able to keep up with this Bills offense? I think they will early in the game, but as it goes, I think Josh Allen will start to take over and the Bills will win this one. All right, so now looking at the final game of the week, Monday Night Football, the Chiefs traveling to Jacksonville to play the Jaguars. The Jaguars will be wearing their throwback uniforms, the Prowlers. That is why I have the old Jaguar logo there. This is the first week with bye weeks, which is why we do not have another slate with 4 games. There are 3 games that will not be played this week, so it comes down to this final one. Right here we have the alternate line parlay. We have the Jags plus 10.5, the Bucks plus 10.5, and Washington plus 10. That's going to get you plus 129. I think that's a pretty safe parlay. You can either take that, which I'm taking, or straight bet the other ones that we took at their normal lines. But looking at this matchup, this is a huge game for both teams. The Chiefs are coming off a statement win against the Ravens, where they finally got their offense going. They got Xavier Worthy back. You really start to see that offense be able to go. Then you have the Jags making a statement win of their own against the 49ers on the West Coast. Now coming back home to play the Chiefs. The Jags are trying to get to 4-1. The Chiefs are trying to get to 3-2. So when looking at this matchup, you have the Chiefs offense that's coming in hot against a really hot Jaguars defense. The Jaguars lead the league with 13 turnovers through 4 games. To put that into reference, the Jaguars only had 9 turnovers all of last season. So their defense really took a step up, and they're going to need to continue to force these turnovers against this really good Chiefs offense. This is going to be a really competitive matchup. I think both sides will make plays. The Chiefs always make plays on offense, and it's really going to be on this Jaguars defense to see if they can continue to force turnovers. Then you have the Jaguars offense going up against the Chiefs defense. The Jaguars offense really hasn't gotten it completely going yet. They've shown flashes. They've had some good drives. They show you they can be a good offense, but whether it's the drops, which they're leading the league in right now, or penalties, which I think they're also leading the league in right now, that's not a recipe to beat a team who consistently goes to the Super Bowl every year. If you drop the football, if you're making mental mistakes and getting penalties, you're not going to be able to beat a team like the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs will try to limit the turnovers on offense because I think that's what's kept the Jags in all 4 of these games they've played. That's going to force this Jaguars offense to step up and make some plays against this Chiefs defense. I think this could be a big game for Travis Hunter. For the first time in his rookie career, he's going to be playing in prime time. He's going to want to show everybody that he can play both sides of the ball, and he's going to do that in this game. He's going to play both sides of the ball, and he's definitely going to look to make an impact. I think Travis Hunter will be one of the biggest impacts on this game, whether the Jaguars win or lose. Another big question mark for this Jaguars offense is, can Trevor Lawrence put together a complete game? Can he win his team this game? If he can do that, that narrative for Trevor Lawrence is going to shift. So while I think the Chiefs are a really good team and they have a lot of momentum, I think the Jaguars have just as much momentum. This is going to be a really good game, but my guts tell me that the Jaguars are going to come out and find a way to win this game at home in Jacksonville. With that being said, that's our full Week 5 picks. Let me know down in the comments. Which games do you agree and disagree with? Also drop down your predictions for each game of Week 5. Also let me know how you feel about me adding some of these bets into these picks, and if I should continue to give you guys some different spreads and parlays in these coming videos. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. It really helps this channel grow. That's all I got for you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.